Did you know a person's digital footprint never truly dies? The text message on my wife's phone said. He still has no idea. I was standing in the cold, gray light of our kitchen on North Clark Street. The Chicago skyline a blurry mess through my tears. Her phone lay unlocked on the marble countertop, a casual oversight that had just detonated my world. It wasn't the affair itself that broke me in that moment. It was the casual cruelty, the smug confidence in my ignorance. Jenna thought she was a ghost, leaving no traces, but she forgot one critical detail. She forgot about the camera I installed after the break-in last spring. A camera that saw everything. And as I stood there, heart hammering against my ribs, I knew this wasn't just about discovery. This was about a reckoning she would never see coming. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. It started subtly, as these things often do. Jenna, my wife of 8 years, began staying late at the office. Big project, she'd say, kissing my cheek with lips that felt increasingly distant. Then came the new workout obsession. She was always at the gym, her body transforming, becoming leaner, harder. I tried to be supportive. I'd make her protein smoothies, tell her how incredible she looked. But something felt off. She'd recoil from my touch, claiming she was too sore, too tired. The intimacy we shared, once the bedrock of our marriage, had evaporated into a polite, sterile roommate agreement. At our anniversary dinner at a fancy place overlooking the river, she spent most of the night texting under the table, a small, secretive smile playing on her lips. When I asked who she was texting, she snapped, "Just work, okay? Can't I have one night off?" The accusation in her voice stung more than the lie. The real clues began to surface like debris after a shipwreck. A receipt from the London House Hotel, dated on a night she was supposedly at a work conference in Naperville. I found it crumpled in her gym bag. When I confronted her, she laughed it off. "Oh, that's from Sarah's bachelorette party months ago. I must have just left it in there." The excuse was too quick, too polished. Then there were the phone calls she'd taken in the other room, her voice a low murmur. If I walked in, she'd hang up abruptly. "Spam call," she'd mutter, her eyes avoiding mine. The final piece of the puzzle clicked into place one evening when her phone buzzed on the nightstand. The name on the screen was simply Mark. Her face went pale. "He's just a colleague," she said, her voice tight. "A new guy at the office." But I saw the panic in her eyes. I saw the truth she was so desperately trying to hide. The next few weeks were a living nightmare. Jenna became a stranger in our home. Every question I asked was met with suspicion and hostility. She started gaslighting me, making me feel like I was the one who was paranoid, controlling, insecure. "You need to get a grip," she once told me, her voice dripping with disdain. "Your jealousy is suffocating me." She and Mark grew bolder, their arrogance blinding them. I'd hear them on the phone laughing. Once, I picked up the extension in the study and heard his voice, smug and self-satisfied, saying, "Don't worry, babe. He's too clueless to ever figure it out." The humiliation was a physical ache, a constant pressure in my chest. They saw me as a joke, an obstacle to be managed until they were ready to discard me. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I came home early to find our bed a mess, the faint scent of a man's cologne hanging in the air. On the nightstand was a single, expensive earring I'd never seen before. It wasn't Jenna's. I collapsed onto the floor in the hallway. The carefully constructed walls of my denial crumbling around me. The pain was immense, a tidal wave of betrayal and grief that left me breathless. I sat there for hours, in the dark, as the loyal, loving husband I once was died a slow, agonizing death, and in his place, something else was born. Something cold, patient, and methodical. The tears stopped. The pain receded, replaced by a chilling clarity. They thought I was a fool. It was time to show them what a fool could do. That night, my revenge began. I didn't confront her. Instead, I became the perfect, oblivious husband she believed me to be. While she slept, I started my investigation. The security camera footage was my first stop. I spent hours watching, my stomach twisting with every frame. There it was, in crystal clear 4K resolution. Jenna and Mark, kissing passionately in our living room, right under the portrait from our wedding day. I saved the files to a secure encrypted drive. Next, I hired a discreet private investigator, a former cop who knew the city inside and out. He followed them, documenting every secret lunch, every rendezvous at the hotel on Wacker Drive. He got photos, videos, everything. I meticulously organized the evidence, creating a timeline of their affair. Complete with text message logs I recovered using software on her synced computer, credit card statements, and hotel receipts. Every lie, every deception, was now a neatly filed exhibit in my case against her. Jenna had an influential father, a man who prided himself on his family's perfect image. He was the chairman of the board at a major Chicago charity, one that held a massive fundraising gala every year. It was the social event of the season for the city's elite. I also knew that Jenna was in line for a huge promotion at her firm, a position she'd been working towards for years. Her entire professional reputation, her social standing, it all hinged on this illusion of perfection. So, I set my traps. I contacted a top divorce lawyer, one known for being ruthless. We prepared the divorce papers, citing adultery with irrefutable proof. We also drafted a letter to be sent to the ethics board of her company, detailing her use of company resources to facilitate her affair with a junior colleague, Mark. Finally, I prepared a special package for her father. The night of the gala arrived. Jenna was radiant in a shimmering gown, completely unaware of the storm about to break. She held my arm, smiling for the cameras, whispering about how proud she was of her father. Mark was there too, smirking at me from across the room whenever Jenna wasn't looking, felt untouchable. As her father took the stage to give his keynote speech, my plan went into motion. At exactly 9 p.m., my lawyer filed the divorce papers electronically. Simultaneously, an email was sent to the entire board of her company, including the CEO, with a link to a password-protected site containing all the evidence. But the final, most devastating blow was for her father. A courier delivered a tablet to him backstage just moments before his speech. On the screen was the security camera footage from our living room, playing on a loop. I watched from the audience as a staff member handed him the tablet. I saw the color drain from his face. He stumbled over his words, his confident voice faltering. The room fell silent. He looked out into the crowd, his eyes finding Jenna, then me. The look in his eyes was one of pure, unadulterated fury and shame. Jenna, confused, looked from him to me. I just gave her a small, cold smile. Her phone buzzed, and it buzzed again and again and again. Texts from her boss, from her colleagues, from her friends. The whispers started, spreading through the ballroom like a virus. Her face contorted in a mask of horror as she finally understood. She was exposed, utterly and completely ruined in front of everyone who mattered to her. She tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. Every eye was on her. Every whisper was about her. Her perfect world had been set on fire, and I was the one holding the match. She looked at me one last time, her eyes pleading, but she found no mercy in mine. I left the gala without a word and never saw her again. I heard she lost her job, was disowned by her family, and became a social pariah. Mark was fired immediately and disappeared. The divorce was quick. I got everything. The house on Clark Street, our savings, our investments. I sold it all and moved away from Chicago, away from the ghosts. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that evening. I don't feel triumph or satisfaction, just a profound, hollow emptiness. Revenge, it turns out, is not a celebration. It is just the quiet closing of a door. The end.